Hi, this is Roger with Steampunked Out, back again for another demo video for you. The most popular request on the websites right now where I've got the polls up was actually for a design demo. When I initially did the polls, I didn't consider just exactly what that meant. And so when I decided to sit down and make the video, I started realizing, there's a lot more to design than what I can fit in 15 minutes. So to start off, I'm probably going to have to break this one into 2 or 3 different sections. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the conception of your designs, deciding what the purpose is for, how to do the layouts for them, then actually how to build some of this stuff. I want to make sure that everybody understands I am not trying to tell you how to do it. I'm really actually covering more about my process and how I do it. So if you're interested in what I do and some of the techniques that I use, you can watch and incorporate it, or decide, hey, I don't want to do it this way, but that's a good idea, I can do it my way. So really it's about inspiration and just sharing information. And so if I start saying you should do this, then forgive me, I mean this is how I do it. So first of all, let's start off with some general ideas about when you're designing in steampunk. When you actually have a concept for an item, you really want to keep some things in mind. One of the biggest things that I learned is form follows function. What it looks like and its shape is going to be determined by what its purpose is. And that doesn't mean that its purpose can't be purely decorative, and that's fine. That just gives you a lot more lenience when you start to design your shape. But you really need to decide, if I'm going to make this, say, a pouch or something, what types of things do you want to put in that pouch? It doesn't make sense to make a pouch for, say, your Kindle, and so that you can carry that with you at the show or something, and then design a pouch that's completely the wrong size for it. So again, what's the purpose, and how can I incorporate that into the design work? And then you also want to also think about how it works. What's the functionality of it? There's the utilitarian, obviously, like I mentioned, the pouches, gun holsters, stuff like that. And then, of course, in steampunk, being the wonderful fantasy sort of retro science fiction genre that it is, gosh, what's your imagination? You can come up with any type of ray gun or scientific device of most any kind, and come up with a function for it. So, but knowing what it's supposed to do and coming up with how those pieces work together, even fictitiously, is important. That was a great video that I saw online. Just glue some gears on it and call it steampunk. I wanted to say that it was Jake on Slot that did that. There's a lot of really good points in that. I know there's a lot of people out there that they just want to glue some gears on it, and that's fine. I think the only thing that I would argue is, while sometimes just gluing gears on it isn't necessarily making it steampunk, perhaps the way to look at it is more of a successful art design. It doesn't make it good steampunk. I think sometimes when you're dealing in the realm, some of the mechanical, the shiny brass, the cogs and the gears, it's the aesthetic of that that's so appealing when we're designing the colors and the shapes and stuff like that. So if you're doing a pair of earrings or something and you want to use a couple of cogs, I personally see no problem with that. I think it's part of the design. I think it's a statement. It's saying, hey, I like this shape. I like the look and feel of this, and I'm going to decorate myself with it in addition to. So as long as it's tastefully done and not overtly stuck on the outside of some modern day thing, he's absolutely right. Sticking gears and stuff on a keyboard and calling it steampunk does not make it a successful design, in my opinion. But again, back to the original idea of how it works. When you build something like this is Pinkertons Chatterbox. The idea behind this was that it was a forearm mounted Gatling gun. and understanding that there has to be some sort of mechanics on the inside in this box or whatever that's good enough. And then seeing that, oh, okay, there's some sort of a power storage device here. You can kind of hide some stuff and keep an idea on the inside, but knowing that this is run off of compressed steam and glim, so in order for it to work, that gives it a little bit more purpose. So, but again, functionality. What's the intent of it? How is it supposed to work? Even if it's fictitious, that's really important. You also have to decide when you're doing the design for something, is it practical? Practicality, that's kind of iffy in this realm as well. Obviously, is it really practical if you were to carry a 4-arm Gatling gun? Probably not. I personally, if this thing really fired bullets, I would never wear it. I'd probably shoot my own hand off. It's just not truly practical in the real world. However, in the steampunk world, what's practical is a little bit different. What you might want to consider when it comes to practicality is, do I want to run around a con for 8, 10, 12 hours in this thing? Is it going to be comfortable? And if I do want to take it off, is that going to be easy? If the answer is yes, go for it. Design anything you want. But understanding how you're going to use it, how practical is it for me to use a carry, or design a huge giant pouch that is going to be really heavy after about 2 hours because I'm carrying all my stuff around. Those are things to think about, not just in the design, but in what materials we use. So that's really some things to think about when it comes to the actual initial concept for something. Some of the other things that you want to do once you start getting the, fleshing out your idea for your product or your, whatever item it is, you want to do a little bit of research. Steampunk is based in historical fiction. If you look at the works from the fiction and the time that inspire us all so much, and not only the works of fiction, but the actual science, what was known at the time, the physics, the idea of the ether and stuff like that. There's a lot of documentation and stuff out there, and this was real world stuff to people. While we know that there's no such thing as the ether now, if we're going to say that something is an ether cannon or some sort of device that deals with ether, I think it's important to realize that a lot of steampunkers out there are very much into the history, and they do look for that sort of thing. So if you're going to design something, go look a little bit. You don't have to spend hours and hours and hours researching it, but some of it's really quite interesting to find out. The ether was actually this medium through which they thought that light traveled through. It was a substance that was that's ability to transfer light particles, because they didn't believe that just like heat has to be conducted with air or water or something like that, they thought that light had to be transferred through some medium, and they thought it was maybe this foam-like substance that depending on the density and that sort of thing, the particles were able to move through that. So understanding what the ether actually was and how it worked in the physics, maybe not on a really deep scientific level. Finding the historical basis for some of these things, for the Gatling gun, for some of the the revolvers and stuff at the time, how they worked and stuff like that. What's the historical precedent for the holsters and how they worked and stuff like that. Those are all important into the research. And then if you want to modify that, man, go for it. Let your imagination go wild, but realize that there is a historical basis for a lot of this stuff. In addition to the science and history of it, what's the mythical basis? I think steampunkers, a lot of the Victorian era and stuff. There was a huge movement in the metaphysics and seances, and of course that even went up even later periods. But they were still dabbling science and alchemy. Were still kind of struggling. There was a lot of mysticism and that sort of thing. And so, absolutely, if you're inspired to do something that's in the realm of, to say, hey, this is run by steam and some sort of this magical substance. Hey, that's great. Whether there's a basis in that or not. With magic, again, you're opening up a whole nother realm of imagination that you can just build all kinds of amazing devices. Which also ties into the literary basis. There's some obviously the old you know, H.G. Wells and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and you know, and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. You know, all these classic works, you know, of fiction at the time are wonderful. There's also some amazing works coming out right now that are just fantastic reads. I know Sherry Priest has got a fantastic series. I loved it. That I read. Also, Devin Monk had Dead Iron, was just a fantastic book. And I really liked the idea that they had with this stuff called glim. You know, it's this kind of mystical, you know, more precious than gold substance, and it gives almost a life to things as a power source and stuff like that. And, you know, I was inspired by that, and that's kind of one of the things that I incorporated when I did the Chatterbox, was this kind of a green vial here of this, you know, mystical substance, and it's part of the power source, and it adds something, I think, to the, you know, to the idea that, you know, we can use the actual you know, products of the time, the Gatling guns and the steamworks and stuff like that, but to work in that fantasy aspect, I think, is a great idea. So, you know, please, you know, be inspired. There's some wonderful things out there. Also, something to think about is, you know, go and look and see what other people are doing. There are a lot of people out there that are doing a Maverick holster for, you know, for the Maverick. I think it's almost a rite of passage when people start doing steampunk mods and stuff like that. They mod you know, the Maverick out. I just did a real quick paint job on mine because I wasn't really trying to mod the Maverick so much as work the leather itself, and I needed something to go with the display, so I just did a quick paint job on it. But, you know, again, we're back to the functionality. This actually has a lot of basis, that the holster itself has a lot of basis in some of the historical holsters on, you know, how the fold-over holster is made, you know, with some addition and stuff. But there are a few people out there that are doing some Maverick holsters. I didn't see any that were done the way that I wanted to do, so I just made my own, which is fine, and that's perfectly acceptable. I think, you know, going and seeing what other people are doing, you know, it's going to inspire you. And, you know, in addition, you may be trying to come up with some design that you want to use yourself. You know, hey, I want to do this pouch and it carries this thing or whatever. I think it's a great idea. You get online looking, somebody's already doing something that's exactly what you wanted. And, you know, maybe you didn't have the time or the money to invest in all the products and stuff to do it for yourself, but, you know, now you've got a great resource to go and, you know, perhaps you can buy it from them, or find out more about how they did it if they're just making it for themselves. You know, a lot of times they're willing to share some of their ideas and stuff with you. So, you know, always look and see what other people are doing out there. The internet is just full of amazingly wonderful designs from, you know, some of the most creative people in the world. You know, I think Steampunk really is a draw for those type of people, and I'm so happy that you know, to get to see a lot of that stuff and going to the shows and stuff. It's really amazing to see that. So I think that's pretty much it for the concept phase of the design. Please feel free to contact me with questions or comments, or if you want to see some things in the future, if you got any questions about some of the product and stuff I'm doing. The next phase, number 2, is going to talk about layout. And we're going to start actually bringing some of the concepts that we talked about and bringing it together into a project that we're going to work on. Okay? Great. Thanks for watching.